I said, Sean Strickland has a big UFC fight this weekend. Sean Strickland is a pretty outspoken, uh, America first, masculine, hyper masculine, really outspoken guy in the UFC, and he's had his press conference leading up into this weekend's fight, and he had some interesting things to say about Bad Bunny, about the Super Bowl, and about the whole feminization of sports. It's about a 3-minute clip. It's not for the faint of heart. It's politically incorrect, but it's worthy of discussion because it connects to bigger issues going on in the world of sports. Let's play the clip.
And, Paramount's cool. I mean, they fucking ruined Halo, but other than that, they made it gay. Ronda and Gina. Whoever thought about that, man? They're going to be half naked and might be making it a little better. Ronda Rousey can fight. That bitch can fight. I think she lost a few fights to her ex, but bitch could fight. I like Gina. She's like super conservative. She was hot. I was like a kid when she fought. I may have jerked off to her once or twice back in the day, but society. Look at the NFL, dude. You had that. I don't even want to say that faggot's name because, I'm talking about the halftime show guy, the Puerto Rican, right? Puerto Rican?
Bad Bunny?
Bro, yeah, that fucking faggot. Dude, it is so crazy that this is America now. Back in the day, dude, the NFL was the fucking standard of being a fucking man. I think they all get together around a table and say, guys, how do we fucking ruin this sport? How do we gay it up? How do we fucking ruin it? Why don't we bring a gay foreigner who doesn't speak fucking English and have him perform it?
That's Sean Strickland, and I hope that you accepted my warning. He's clearly at one extreme, and there used to be a time where you couldn't talk this way in press conferences and sell an event, even a sporting event, no matter how boxing and how brutal and depraved it is. You couldn't do that. And you're wondering, why is Dana White, why is UFC, why is the female reporter even going back and forth and dealing with Sean Strickland as he talks this way? Well, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And as the LGBTQIA plus silent P movement, as the feminist movement has become more and more hyper-aggressive, don't sit here shocked that there's not an equal and opposite reaction. And so as profane as that sounded, as politically incorrect as that sounded, it's inevitable. You keep telling all these lies. You keep telling the world and telling men and telling white men in particular that they're the bane of society. They're the most wicked people in the history of the planet. They're responsible for everything that's wrong in the planet. Eventually, this is how they're going to respond. It's like, okay, you want to talk crazy? I can talk crazy too. Women can sit on TV, sit in the media and everywhere and just complain and define men in the worst ways possible. Well, you're promoting men to come out and be just as extreme. And so I get it, he used profanity, but the things that he was saying about women, if you compare them to what women routinely, casually say about men, and white men in particular, what did you expect? This is the natural response. I'm not defending it. I'm not promoting it. But I am saying this is what will happen if we don't tamp down the men are the worst thing that ever happened on the planet. Men have abused, the history of men is their abuse of women, their abuse of people of color. These are all lies and exaggerations, and they're not, these things aren't said. They're said to still power and to put men on a guilt trip so that they surrender power. Because women can't take power from men. It can be surrendered to them. But it's just like he said, hey, man, this fat guy out here in the audience could beat up whoever the top woman is. And that's a bit of an exaggeration. Ronda Rousey and some of these women could beat up some men. But it's not a high percentage of men that they could. And all of this gimmick of, and he's basically responding, he lived through the era where people were pretending that Ronda Rousey could beat up Floyd Mayweather, could win a fight with Floyd Mayweather. That was an actual discussion that was going on in real time during Ronda Rousey's heyday. He's like, okay, she can beat up Floyd Mayweather. And he's like, no, there's a million men, maybe 20 million men that practice combat sports at some level, high school wrestlers, or whatever, that Ronda Rousey and none of these women could compete with. And everybody knows it. But it's as reviled as people were by Sean Strickland's comments, as outraged as they were, no one wants to deal with the outrageous things that are being said on the other side that are triggering and making Sean Strickland feel like, hey, the only way I can be heard is if I go as extreme as them, as if I go as stupid as them. And I really wish he would tamp down the profanity, but virtually everything else, I don't have a problem with. It's not, and what do you mean? It's not nearly as outrageous as abortion is health care. And that killing a baby in the womb is the right of women and men should stay out of it. My body, my choice. The way that feminists will hear Sean Strickland talk and the way they'll react and like, oh, that's out of bounds, that's crazy, he shouldn't be allowed to say that. That's how the things they say sound to me. And perhaps many of you. But if we're not willing to stand up and to push back in a real way, if we're not, they're going to continue to take power from men. And we're going to continue to surrender power to them. I bring that up to say that ESPN just announced that they are promoting Women's Sports Sunday. This is something no one's been clamoring for at ESPN. Women's sports have a hard time drawing ratings. But now ESPN is launching Women's Sports Sunday, a first-of-a-kind summer weekly primetime franchise showcasing women. Let me read you an excerpt from this. ESPN today announced the upcoming launch of Women's Sports Sunday, a first-of-its-kind weekly primetime programming franchise that places women's sports at the center of the summer sports calendar. Debuting in the summer of 2026, the new Sunday night destination will feature top-tier WNBA and NWSL, and I believe, is that the National Women's Soccer League? I need to look that up. On ESPN, presented by Ally Matchups, elevating the biggest moments, rivalries, and stars across women's sports on ESPN networks in premium windows. More than a programming block, Women's Sports Sunday represents a bold commitment to incomparable competition, consistency, storytelling, and establishing women's sports as the main event on Sunday nights. Across 9 consecutive weeks and 12 games, ESPN will deliver a premium viewing experience that invites longtime fans and newcomers alike into a reimagined summer primetime tradition. Women's sports are for everyone and more accessible than ever. Here's a quote from Rosalind Durant. Women's sports are experiencing continued momentum, and Women's Sports Sundays is ESPN's next step in meeting that demand. This franchise is about more than showcasing games. It's about building a consistent, high-profile destination that reflects the passion, excellence, and cultural impact of women's sports today while giving athletes and leagues the stage they deserve. All of this is predicated on the back, basically, of Caitlin Clark and ESPN planning on WNBA players coming to their senses and finally agreeing to a new collective bargaining agreement. And they're hoping to use Caitlin Clark to build a brand, and Caitlin Clark and the WNBA to build a brand around women's sports. They got one athlete. And I've been saying for the past 2 years that Caitlin Clark is the biggest star in sports. Let me take a sip of water here. I'm sorry. You can hear me drinking the water. Is that what you just said? Anyway, Caitlin Clark is the biggest star in sports. I've been saying that for 2 years. And she is the tool that they are reluctantly using to platform all these other women's sports and to shove them down our throats. There's no real demand for this. And it's what they've done with Caitlin Clark over the past year, the way they treated her in the league, the way her last season went. She's less of a star than she was a year and a half ago. And we're going to find that out. Whenever they come to an agreement on this WNBA deal, I'm not sure if Caitlin Clark will be nearly the ratings draw that she used to be, and they're probably going to get exposed to some degree. Their hatred of Caitlin Clark, and at some point, hopefully Sean Strickland will talk about that. And people will talk about how, like, because she's white, because she's heterosexual, they've tried to destroy Caitlin Clark. But men and are continuing to cater to, be on a guilt trip about how we've treated women, and we keep surrendering power to them, surrendering platforms to them, building, erecting Women's Sports Sunday when there's no demand for it. This is all out of guilt. It's all out of a leverage play that the feminists have been playing on us, and it's working. And Sean Strickland, right, he will be used against us, and I'm saying don't apologize for Sean Strickland. Don't apologize. He's profane. The things he said are politically incorrect. He hasn't stated them the way that I would prefer that he state them, but don't apologize. He's saying it that way because they have forced him to say it that way. It's the only way he can be heard.